The Beer O'Clock Show with Steve and Mark. Episode 7. Innis Gunn Winter Treacle Porter. Hello, it's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, where every week we take a selected beer and taste, dissect, and discuss its various merits, while I, an ex-lager drinker, learn the subtleties of the more interesting of beers and ales out there. My name is Mark, and joining me from the county with more traffic lights per road mile than anywhere else in the world is Steve.
Good evening, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Are you proud of that little tidbit from Essex?
I'm constantly proud of every little bit of information that you find about Essex. That one is a truly brilliant one.
Yeah, I've got a load now. I've done some research this week.
Oh, excellent. I can't wait for coming weeks then.
So it's been...
Hopefully one week there'll be something of some sort of historical importance that will actually mean something to someone.
You never know. Well, we did have the Ollie Murs thing the week before last.
Not historical or significant, I would suggest.
So it's been an interesting week the last week. On the beer front, it's been somewhat uneventful for me. I just had apart from the assignment beer that we'll talk about soon, I had I can't remember, Punk IPA from Brewdog.
Oh, what did you think of that one?
I think I wrote on Twitter that because it was nicer than I thought it would be. I was imagining it was just going to be, because it's an IPA, I was expecting it to be hoppy, but I was just going to think it's just going to be, that's all it was going to be, hoppy.
Yeah.
With nothing else. But no, I think I wrote on Twitter that rounded floral notes and doesn't taste of piss like I thought it would. So I would drink it again. I wouldn't be sitting on them all night, but it was better than I thought it would be. Yeah, that's basically my review of that one. I've got another 2 here, so I need to get through them eventually, but I'm not frightened now. I was thinking it was going to be like the Carling of IPAs or something, but no, Green King still hold that crown.
Yeah, indeed.
So, what about you, mate? I think you had a couple.
Yeah, I've tried some different Fullers this week. I tried the Chiswick Bitter, which I actually thought was quite bland and pointless. Really, it didn't really do it for me. There was no real flavour or anything to it. I was quite surprised. Yeah, I was quite surprised reading on the bottle that it was a former winner of the Champion Beer of Britain. So maybe, I don't know, maybe my taste buds were off, or maybe it was too cold or something, but I got nothing from it. And I also tried their 2 blonde and sort of golden beers, the Discovery and the Organic Honeydew as well. And again, they were all right, but nothing special, really.
Okay, I've got a Discovery on my pub shelf.
Yeah, very. I'd say you could probably compare the Discovery very much to probably in the same sort of vein as the Adnams Explorer, similar sort of flavour and colour. So I think it was very, very lager-like as well. I think I put on Twitter yesterday when I was trying that. It had a real sort of lagery-ness to it.
So a bit of an easy beer then, would it be?
An easy beer, yeah. I mean, I've had it on. I've had it off the pump before in pubs. But I think this is one of the first times, probably the first time I've had it out of a bottle. And it was very, very carbonated, very fizzy as well, which I didn't really expect. And you know how normally as you drink a pint, that eases off. It kind of stayed with it all the way through. Mm-hmm. And I think from, again, reading on the bottle, they were suggesting they used some lager malts in it. So maybe that's the reason why the fizz stayed with it all the way through.
Okay. What else did you get through?
I also did another one of the Sandbrooks beers called Wandle.
Yep.
And that was a traditional, I suppose what you class as a traditional English bitter. And that was quite nice, actually. Very malty. and quite a lingering hoppy aftertaste to it. So that's one I'd recommend. You give a go if you see it on the shelf. The Sandbrook stuff.
Right, I don't think I've ever seen any Sandbrooks around.
It's always interesting because they're down your way. I think they're down down Wandsworth Way.
Okay.
And in fact, the beer that I drank this week, Wandle, is named after the tributary. Is that the word of the Thames that flows past their brewery? So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're down Wandsworth Way. They pride themselves as being one of London's smaller brewers.
I'll have to look into them then.
Yeah.
And what else? Or was that it?
What else?
Am I expecting too much from you?
No, I did a couple more of the Barry Island IPAs, which I'm loving at the moment. They're fairly small bottles. They're only 330 mils, so they go quite quickly when I open them. And oh yeah, the shame of it having a pint of Green King IPA in a restaurant that we were in, but it was that, or actually I think that was their only bitter alternative. So yeah, it was that or lager, and I wasn't in a lager mood this week.
Oh.
So quite a bit again, I guess, and then of course the one for the individual assignment, which I believe we'll be talking about later.
Yes, but before we get to that whole thing, this week's selected beer is a very special but yet unreleased choice from a fine Scottish brewery. We'll be talking about that in a moment. But before then, we have had a couple of little discussions on Twitter this week. You can get in touch with us on Twitter via Beer O'Clock Show, and we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to pull out two conversations we had. The first was with almost your namesake, mate, Stefano Bentos, who started listening to the show. He's quite fond of the way I apparently cut through the perceived beer wisdom with my quotes of "It's just taste of beer. We won't bother with it again." It does sound like something I would say. I don't know if it's word for word, but he also was going to tuck into the banana bread beer from Wells. So I have asked him how it was. He hasn't followed up with me yet. So
I think, in fact, I don't think I've seen him tweet anything since he tweeted that. So maybe it's finished him off.
Yeah, Stefano, if you're out there, mate, drop us a line so we know you're well.
Yeah.
I don't want to think that.
Yeah, we just want to know. Just want to know you're all right.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've heard of the banana bread, I wouldn't be surprised if it finished you off. Or just you gave up the will to live. Yeah, drop us a line, mate.
It's nice to know that again on the day of the Olympic parade that we're also inspiring a generation to do a whole different form of activity in terms of drinking different beers.
That's right. Yeah, indeed. And the other tweet we had was from Daz Oakley on Twitter. He was just saying that he's just listening to the latest Beer O'Clock show and asking if we've heard of beer bods. I don't know if Darren has any involvement with beer bods and just using it to plug his own product or not, or if he's just a fan of it. I don't know. But we did have a look at it. It looks interesting, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It's basically a beer club online where you sign up for 12 weeks at a go, I think, and they send you a case of 12 beers, basically hand selected, and you all drink the same one and you all discuss it, which is basically what we do. Yeah.
Without supplying the beer.
The beer. But like I said to you before we started recording, it's not the most original idea, the beer club online thing, because there are a couple of other shops that do it. But I like the fact that they're participating in getting the discussion going. And you and I have discussed going in with one of these type of things before, just to make it easier on ourselves with choosing something.
Yeah, but I think this one particularly appealed to the lazy side of my brain that suggests that I don't even have to think about what beers I've got to select, that they actually select them for me
Yeah.
and send them to me. All I need them to do now is send someone around to drink it for me and tell me what it tastes like.
That's what I need. I need someone to tell me what it tastes like.
And I'll be away, I think.
I do like these beers that have the things on the front and on the back saying has hints of this and drops of that, so I know what to taste for when I'm about to tuck in.
Yeah, we didn't get, or we haven't so far had anybody respond to the what is Mark tasting in the Bengal answer, have we?
No, they're probably thinking, if you can't taste it, mate, we're not going to teach you.
Oh, I think I took your lead and I watched the Mrs. Real Ale guide review of it online. Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably the malts that you were tasting.
Okay.
Probably the particular style and flavour of malts that you was taking, because she mentioned those quite frequently during her review. So I'd take a stab at it. It was that.
Oh. Okay. That's a bit disappointing.
Yeah,
all I can taste is the two chief ingredients.
Yeah, you wanted more, didn't you? You wanted more than that.
I wanted to be able to smell and taste the hints of whatever, but never mind.
Well, I imagine you'll do that in the one that we're about to devour tonight.
Yes. But again, before we get to what our weekly selection is, we're going to go over last week's assignments. Last week, I was assigned by myself to drink a Fursty Ferret from Badgers, and Steve, you were Bitter and Twisted, wasn't it?
That's it.
From
yes.
Harviestoun.
Yes.
Right, so these are beers that we choose ourselves to drink because, like I mentioned last week, the beers that Steve and I can get locally aren't always the same. So rather than just have the same beers that you can get in Sainsbury's or Tesco's or wherever, we're able to get these little weird beers that the other guy can't get, and so we're just going to include them in every week as little personal assignments. Now, Steve, Bitter and Twisted by Harviestoun, how did you find it?
Probably a little bit biased in my opinion of it, because I think I've said before, it's probably one of my top 5 all-time beers. I absolutely love the stuff. It's classed as on the bottle as a blonde beer, but when you pour it, you get this lovely burnt amber colour to it. It's a really rich sort of colour. It pours with a nice head as well. You get very little aroma from it. You don't pick up the hops or any of the flavours that they've got in it, but when you start to drink it, it's recommended that it's best served cold as well, so that it's as refreshing as possible. So you get a lot of there's a lot of citrusy flavours in there that you pick up straight away. It's the first thing that hits you. Very, very lightly hopped. But there's enough hops in there that it leaves a very pleasant, lingering bitter taste in the mouth, and you're picking that up from the hops. Can't really pick up any malts or anything in it. As I say, the strongest thing that you get from it is this zesty, citrusy flavour. An absolute corker of a beer, and I would absolutely recommend to everybody that if you see it in a pub or if you see it in your local supermarket, just to try it, because it's one of the most refreshing beers that personally I think is out there.
Wow. Okay. My one was the Fursty Ferret from Badgers. My note that I tapped into Untapped when I drunk it was, it's nice, gently hoppy, and a smooth malt. Now, that's a big ask of me to actually know what I'm talking about there.
That sounded really good, actually.
But what I liked about it is, because I've gotten to the stage now where I can recognise what the hops are, because they're the little bits that tingle the side of my tongue and give me the bitterness around the side of my tongue. Am I right?
I think yes. You're right. Yes, no, you are right in saying that. It's the hops that do that to it. That they give the bitterness and a lot of the flavours to the beer.
Yeah. So that was definitely there, but it was kind to me. It was quite gentle, and it wasn't overpowering, and so it was very drinkable from that viewpoint, and obviously then the taste coming through, which I assumed was the malts coming through, just over the top. So it did make it very drinkable, and I would definitely be able to have a couple of those in a row. Just as far as being able to, or having the appetite for them. I don't know if I'd be able to handle more than 2 in a row. But
they are quite. I mean, the name suggests, but it is quite a thirst quenching beer as well as it's quite a refreshing beer.
Yeah,
my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, it was very nice, and the fact that the hops weren't overpowering. So I mean, when I drink these beers that have the really powerful hops in them, I have to pause a little bit because I don't know if I can have more than one of those, because I'm still getting used to the bitterness of these ales. But that and the other badges I had a couple of weeks ago, which was the peachy one, the what was that one called? The golden something or other.
Golden Glory.
Golden Glory, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was again very gentle to my taste buds. So that's me for my weekly assignment. It was quite nice. I was quite pleased to get one of those down.
I think you would probably find that actually, if you were to compare the two beers, I think they're very similar beers. I'm trying to go back in my memory because it's been a while since I've had a Fursty Ferret.
Do you mean between our two assignments?
Yes, yeah, between our two assignments. I think, but by complete mistake, we've chosen two very similar beers. So that may well be maybe a task for the listeners at home to go out and get the two beers and try them together. Not literally together in the same glass, but obviously one after the other, and to compare the flavours and see if we're right or not. But I'm pretty sure they're of a similar ilk.
The Harviestoun beers, are they available locally for you, or did you have to get them in from somewhere?
No, you can get Harviestoun. My local Morrison's does them, and I know Sainsbury's stock them as well. Sainsbury's do a version. I don't know what Sainsbury's call it, but like Tesco's do their finest range, Sainsbury's do a version of that as well. And they've got it's called Scottish Handcrafted Lager. And it's Sainsbury's branded all over, but if you read the label, it's actually brewed by Harviestoun, and that's a lovely beer. Again, that is like a really really heavily hopped lager. It's very reminiscent of their other main brand that they do. They do Bitter and Twisted, and then they do one which I'm gonna mightily screw up the name. It's called Chialion, I think, and the Sainsbury's handcrafted lager is basically a version of Chialion, but those are the two beers that Harviestoun do, and you can get them. Again, I think it just depends on what the supermarkets are buying in at the time.
Yeah, I've kind of veered away from getting any of the supermarket branded beers because I wasn't sure what quality they would be.
I would recommend the Sainsbury's ones.
Okay.
Sainsbury's and Marks and Spencer, they both do it. You have to read the labels very very closely. They're branded in their supermarket labels, but when you read the labels, they've actually been brewed by specific breweries. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure within the Sainsbury's range, they actually do one by the Black Sheep Brewery, which we featured the other week. They do it's called something like, I don't know, Yorkshire Ale or something like that, but it's essentially a version of Black Sheep Lager.
Okay.
Not like Black Sheep Ale. And Marks and Spencer's do a range of everything's called Southwold this and Southwold that. It's essentially Adnams beer, but they've brewed it for Marks and Spencer's. So it's very.
I saw our mate Andy having one of them he posted about it on Twitter on the weekend.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, right, because obviously I know the Southwold that's where Adnams are based, so I was wondering if it was any connection to them. Yeah,
I mean, it took me a while to find out, but I would suggest that those two supermarkets very much check what the labels are saying, because they will be beers that have been brewed for them by pretty well thought of breweries, and then they've just basically stuck their own labels on them.
Okay, I'll do that then. And talking of well thought of breweries. We're going on to our weekly selection now. We were very kindly sent what could only be termed a gift hamper from Innis Gunn. Steve has been in conversation with one of their guys for quite a while, and he kindly offered to send us a bottle each of their new Winter Treacle Porter, which actually isn't out yet. It comes out at the end of September, I think. It's on sale at Beers of Europe and available elsewhere after that. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, I think certain Sainsbury's stores are going to be stocking it as well.
Okay.
But certainly won't be as widely available as the original Innis Gunn, which you can buy pretty much anywhere these days.
Yeah. So this is like a follow-on from last year's winter. Was it a winter porter? The one from last year?
It was last year and the year before.
Winter beer 2011 they had last year.
Yeah. They brew a winter beer every year.
Okay.
And it's generally only available every year. They put out this fantastic little gift box where you get a bottle of the original Innis Gunn, and then you get 2 of their beers that have been brewed specifically for that year. And then you get a lovely Innis Gunn glass as well, which is just the right size to fit in a bottle of their beer in it. And so for the last 2 years in the boxes, and the boxes come out around Christmas as well. So they're ideal Christmas presents if you know people that like their beer. Not that I'm hinting at all there. So for the last 2 years, they've had a winter beer in there. And the winter beers are always brewed with the kind of flavours and ingredients that are warming. So obviously the idea is that you're drinking it during the winter, and it's nice to have a beer that actually warms you up and you can cosy yourself around, almost. And from what I understand, that their version for 2012 is this wonderful Winter Treacle Porter that, as you rightly say, we've been sent. And I think I'm right in saying it's a bit of an exclusive in terms of I'm not sure. We may be the first people to actually be reviewing this that then goes out to the listening or watching public.
Cutting edge, that's what we are, Stephen.
We are at the
cutting edge.
Yes.
So again, this is the Innis Gunn Winter Treacle Porter. Is an oak-aged beer. Rich, complex porter with hints of fruit and chocolate. 7.4% ABV.
Good luck.
Thank God it's only a 330ml bottle. Oh God, I'm frightened, Stephen. So explain to me, a porter is an ale that's been brewed in whiskey barrels, is that right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now explain to me what a porter is, please.
Okay. Let's actually distinguish between the two. Innis Gunn. One of the things that Innis Gunn are famed for is brewing their beers in whiskey barrels. So they've got a range of different beers that they put out, and they put out seasonal variations of beers as well. And every one of them's been matured for a certain amount of days in a whiskey barrel. And because of that, you get very, very unique flavours in the Innis Gunn beers. So particularly their original, which probably a lot of our listeners have tried or have seen in their time. When you drink that, you get real strong toffee and vanilla flavours coming through, and that's all from the maturing process in those whiskey barrels. So that's something that I wouldn't go so far as saying it's trademarked to Innis Gunn, but it's what they're known for. A lot of other brewers do it now as well in whiskey barrels, brandy barrels, cognac barrels, rum barrels. They do it in different types of things, but it's what Innis Gunn have built themselves on. And I think if you go onto their website, you can read about how it was actually founded by accident, and that they wasn't intending on doing that, and they did it, and they realised it was such a great thing that they'd carry on doing it. So that's the whiskey barrel, the oak aging process. A porter is a beer that sits between it sits between your sort of dark beers, your bitters, your ruby beers, those sorts of things, and a stout. So it's kind of, if you was doing it in stepped, you'd go dark beer, porter, stout. And the reason for that is because it uses the same sort of roasted barley malts that are used in stouts, and that's what gives it its very, very dark colour. Maybe not quite as thick as a stout, but it's where the colouring comes from within the porter.
Okay.
There.
Well, have you started yours already? Have you?
I've not. I've been waiting and holding myself back, and I'm just pouring it now.
And I'm cracking the lid off mine.
It's probably fair to say
I can smell it already.
I've been like a kid trying to get into their advent calendar since this bottle arrived on my doorstep.
Now, I've had this in the fridge for the last few days, but I took it out about an hour ago.
Okay.
So it's still cool, but it's not refrigerated cold.
Now, I went for a slightly different approach with this one. I've only had it in the fridge for 2 hours. So it's chilled it, but it's not cold. It's interesting when they say, because the back of the bottle says it should be served at between 4 to 6 degrees. I think that is degrees centigrade, yeah. It's got the C on it. And that frustrates me when they do that. How am I supposed to know that it's at that temperature? How do I know that? You know, tell me whether I need to serve it cold, chilled, slightly chilled, warm, whatever.
Well, I just poured mine a bit enthusiastically and it almost went over the rim of the glass, so I had to take a big mouthful to stop it spilling everywhere.
Not the best way to take your first sample of it, I would suggest.
Yeah. So let's see if I can actually tell what it is now, rather than just panicking, supping up some foam.
Right, let's get into this. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. I can tell the strong malts in there.
That's lovely. That is absolutely gorgeous.
It's a beautiful dark colour.
Mm-hmm.
Light carbonation. I've been watching the videos, can you tell?
Yeah. Just a little bit. It is. I've just got to dwell on that for a minute. The colour is like nothing I've ever seen before. It's like the only thing I can really compare that to is like a red wine. It's that sort of deep, dark ruby colour.
Yeah, it's a real ruby copper.
Yeah.
Like a dark copper colour. It's got a nice cream coloured head on it.
Yep. Maybe a little bit fizzy.
Hops aren't terribly strong.
I think... So I'm going to stick my neck out there and say I don't think they overly use the hops in their brewing. I think what they rely on is the oak aging to bring out the flavours in their beer.
Yeah.
I think the hops would overdo it. A couple of years ago, in one of their Christmas boxes, they did an IPA, and that wasn't overly hoppy either. And you know, we've spoke quite a lot on previous shows about IPAs, and their kind of standard thing is that they're heavily hopped, but their IPA wasn't very hoppy either. Oh, this is a tremendous beer.
I can smell something, but I can't pick what it is.
I'm wondering if it might be... because they've actually, as the name suggests, Winter Treacle Porter.
Teeth in.
Hey, welcome to Get Pissed this week. They've used molasses in this, which is obviously rich, dark treacle. I think what you're picking up on the nose there is the molasses, and you're probably getting a little bit of the oak aging coming through as well. So you're picking up a little bit of the whiskey aroma in there.
There's kind of a woody, boozy scent to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I might sound a bit stupid, but it actually tastes old, if you get what I mean.
No, I do get what you mean, actually, and it's gonna. I mean, this is quite a departure for us, isn't it? Because we're normally the premise of the show is that we do beers that people can go out and find and drink along with us, and then they can share. We've been given this fantastic opportunity to try this beer that isn't on general release yet. So here we are talking about what we think of it, and most people probably aren't going to be able to get their hands on a bottle of this for at least another month or so, if at all. So I think you're just going to have to trust us, folks, on what you're hearing here if you can't get hold of a bottle of this. But I would suggest that go out of your way to try and get some of this and get it in for the winter, because I can imagine sitting down in front of a roaring coal fire and on a big furry rug drinking a bottle of winter Treacle Porter.
Yeah. Whew. Oh, I can tell. I can see that 7.4% coming through. I tell you what,
I'm just beginning to get some slightly sweet flavours coming through as I'm going down the glass here.
Yeah.
I think as the beer settles a little bit, it's obviously a little bit lively when it first comes out of the bottle. So the first few mouthfuls, a little bit fizzy. Now that's calmed down a little bit. A lot of the flavours are coming through.
Yeah, I can get a real sense of a smell of spirits from it.
Yeah.
Kind of lost for words, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously this is different from anything we've done so far. Very well crafted, this one. I mentioned beer last week that had character, but this is overflowing with it, isn't it? As you would expect from what is obviously a special brew for them. This is one that people would have been waiting for all year to come out.
Absolutely. I mean, they've done a few specials this year. They do a Canada Day every year, which because they've got quite strong links to Canada as well. So they do a Canada Day beer that is brewed as a celebration, and that one this year was absolutely fantastic. It was sweet. It was almost like you could have sat down for one of those classic American Canadian breakfasts of pancakes and bacon with maple syrup.
Ooh.
And you could have had a bottle of beer with it. It would have worked that well. That was a stunner this year, and that they also for the first time brewed an Independence Day beer in celebration of Independence Day as well for the States, which was more biscuity, more malty, and I didn't like it as much as the Canada Day. And they've also done a Scottish Pale Ale as well this year. And that was a very refreshing, very lively, very zesty beer. So they've done quite a few specials this year. They've got their standard 3 beers, which is that they do the original, then they do a blonde beer, and then they do the rum finish as well. Those are kind of their staple beers as their range, and then they add these specials to them throughout the year. But this one is absolutely stunning. It's an absolutely amazing beer.
Just had a message back from Stefano Bentos about the banana bread from Wales that we mentioned earlier.
He's still with us then.
Yeah, his comment was it was foul novelty crap.
Oh.
So as you're listening to this, Stefano, just imagine that you're drinking this fine winter Treacle Porter from Innis Gunn.
Mm. I think we should probably say, I know we mentioned earlier that obviously Innis Gunn that sent this to us, but just to thank Adam Sargent, who actually got in touch with us and said, would we like to give it a go?
Yeah.
To which it was a very enthusiastic reply of a yes from me. So if you are listening to this, Adam, thank you very much for sending us this beer. It is an absolute treat. And a joy to behold to be sampling this beer. I might be going slightly over the top here.
Now you're probably getting a lot more out of it than I am, because obviously I'm new to all this, so the core tastes that are there are more overpowering for me. So I'm getting the malts there. I'm getting that really boozy, oak-aged taste to it. I can't get any of the fruit or chocolate.
No, I'm struggling to pick those up. I'm getting a sweeter flavour as I'm approaching the end of the glass, and I could actually see it. It's sometimes it's nice to almost pair beers with food. So what would go well with this? I could see this going well with some dark chocolate. I think would just complement this beautifully.
Yeah.
In terms of you'd pick up the real bitterness from the dark chocolate and then have a swig from this, and I think that would just set it alive.
Yeah, it's kind of like a. Now that you've mentioned that, I get the sense of like a dark cherry from this as well. In with the rum. It's reminding me of something. I have to get past that 40-year-old mental barrier.
Right.
To
Now
a
you've said
memory.
that, so it's reminding me of. There are hints of hobgoblin. It's quite similar. There's an aftertaste that is quite similar, and I think I've said in the past that personally I feel as though you can pick up some chocolatey flavours.
Yeah.
When you're drinking hobgoblin. So I'm thinking if that's what I'm now picking up is that just an ever so subtle hint of chocolate as it's resting and on the palate and just finishing off.
Have you ever had dark rum and raisin chocolate?
I have, and it was foul.
Yeah, this is what that reminds me of.
Yeah,
That's the taste I'm getting from it.
I had it recently. We went to Cadbury World recently, and I got very excited by the Cadbury. I think it's called Jamaican Bourneville or something like that, and it was Bourneville chocolate, but it was rum and raisin, and I was so excited about it. I opened it, and the smell was overpowering, and I was so excited about it. And I took a bite, and it was awful. I spat it out straight away because it was so foul. But this has gone down an absolute treat this evening.
Or some very strong rum and raisin ice cream I had many, many years ago. This is bringing back. Have you ever seen the Pixar film Ratatouille?
It's not one that I've seen all the way through, no.
Okay, I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but I will.
I'm sure I'll see it.
Where they prepare this dish of it's a very basic French dish. Oh, ratatouille. For this movie critic, not movie critic, sorry, food critic at the end. This restaurant critic who had put this restaurant that this rat is in on the back foot many years before when he knocked one of their Michelin stars off. And he obviously doesn't know this rat is preparing this meal for him, but he's expecting something special. So they make a ratatouille that when he takes one bite, and it transcends him back through his childhood to when his mother used to make ratatouille, back when he was a boy. And that's kind of what this beer is doing to me, sending me spiraling back through my memories, trying to find out where I've tasted this before. And I think it's that very strong rum and raisin ice cream I had many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's got the slight, very, very slight sweetness of the fruit in there, the very boozy feel to it, the lovely malts in there.
This would work really well with a slice of rich fruitcake as well, I think.
You just like your sweets.
I do like my sweet stuff. I think it'd go awesome with a steak.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually.
If I'm honest, I mean, I think the flavour of this would complement a really nice steak. I'm very disappointed to say that it's almost gone, which is a real shame because I've really enjoyed that.
I tell you what, there's no way I could have more than one of these at once. But it's so nice.
Yeah.
But it's so strong.
This is the first time since we've been doing the show that I can say I've truly enjoyed the beer. I enjoy drinking beer, and it's
but rather than it being a run of the mill.
Yeah,
something
because it's so different. I'm quite literally speechless at the moment. I'm lost for words because I've really enjoyed this, and it's been. I suppose everything else we've done, I've drunk before, so I've already got a preconception of what it's going to taste like.
Yeah.
This one, I came into it with no preconceptions whatsoever. So I suppose what you're hearing tonight is how my general first reaction would be to a beer.
And can I just say that these reactions have nothing to do with the fact that we didn't pay for this beer. Steve and I had always come into this wanting to be as honest as possible, and we are genuinely enjoying this.
And yeah, I mean, to be fair, when they sent it to us, they asked us to be completely honest as well, and they said if you don't like it, say that you don't like it, because we don't want to missell our beers. So, and I would have quite happily did that. I think I mentioned before that earlier this year they brewed a stout, which I didn't enjoy at all. I didn't enjoy the Innis Gunn stout. And I tried it in all variations as well. I tried it really cold. I tried it not chilled at all. I tried it chilled a little bit. I tried it chilled for a long time and then taken out, and all the different variations. I just didn't get to grips with it, and I just didn't enjoy it. So had I not have enjoyed this, I would have said that I didn't enjoy it. It's a lovely beer. I'm going to get another bottle of this, and I'm going to save it for Christmas Eve. Because I think that's when it should be drunk. So
let's wrap up this review of this very, very, very nice beer. What are your final thoughts? How would you sum this up in a tweet? Which you're going to have to do later anyway.
Yeah. Rich, powerful flavours, easy drinking, and lots of I'm going stealing everything you're going to say here, and lots of character to it, probably. This is going over what I'd be able to get into a tweet, but I've tried porters before, and I've always found them to be, again, stealing some of your material here. I've always found them to be too beery.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of erred away from porters. This isn't a traditional porter by any sense. The brewing process that they've gone through from this, you can tell that time and care has gone into brewing this beer. And just a highly recommended beer. Again, I would just suggest to people, if you can get your if you can get your hands on this, do so. Because it's worth getting hold of a bottle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my summation of it, with the limited palate I have as far as beers go, it's rich, it's thick. Once you're getting through it, you can really pull through the boozy fruitiness of it without it just tasting like a glass of glazed cherries. It's like a big glass of rum and raisin ice cream. But no, it's nice. It's bloody hard going though. I haven't finished mine yet. I've got a little bit in the bottom. I've done well.
You've done very well.
Something that's about almost twice as strong as the normal beers we drink.
Well, let's just say that considering we were doing this and last year's winter beer together in one show as a comparison, I think it was the right call.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's what we did consider, because Adam Sargent suggested we do both winter beers back to back to compare them. And Steve was saying to me, "I don't think you can do it." And I was talking to my wife about it, and I said, "I'm going to do both of them." She goes, "Yeah, do it properly." So I sent Steve a text and saying, sod it, we're going to do both of them. Body be damned. And he just came back saying, "You're not going to manage it." And you're right. See, I'm just thinking, thank God I don't have to drink anything else after this one.
I know you now, Mark.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really looking forward to that winter 2011 that they sent us as well. I know it's not going to be the same, But I mean, I'm looking forward to all their beers. Now, good on you, Innis Gunn. You did well.
Yeah.
This
Here.
is. I think we've got our first 10-pointer. To be honest with you.
I would. Yeah. Yeah. 9.5.
Okay. What's the half point lost for?
Well, just because I can't ever give 100% because there's always room for improvement. I actually no. In hindsight, I would give it a 10. I think it's a great beer.
Yeah, it's not something that I would drink every day, obviously, for health reasons and sanity reasons. But I'm gonna, like you, I'm gonna pick up a bottle of this if I can get one, and keep it to the side, because hopefully by Christmas, I've waded in deep enough into the beer pool that I can appreciate a bit more than I am now. This has set a bar for this show, I think.
I think so. Yes, it's up there.
Yeah. So more beers like this, please.
Okay.
Moving on. We're going to wrap the show up now. But first we have to get to next week's assignments. So, Steve, what beer have you selected to review for yourself this week ahead of next week's show?
I am going to do an absolute monster of a beer for next week. It's approaching my 40th birthday, and when I was recently up in Southwold at Adnams, I picked up a bottle of their Soul Bay Celebration beer, which is bottled in almost what looks like a champagne bottle. It's termed as a celebratory sparkling beer. They brew it using all of their residual yeast from their brewing process, and so it picks up a lot of the flavours from their other beers. It's 10%. It's a 750ml bottle, and I'm doing it all on my own on Saturday night. So
you're bidding farewell to your 30s in style.
Yeah, I am, yes. So that's the beer that I'm going to be doing this weekend, that I will then choose to review for next week's show.
If you can still talk.
Yes.
If you have still.
This is the start of a 3 or 4 week period of celebrating my 40th year. So I think I'm going to need some assistance towards the end of it.
See, I celebrated my 40th in an afternoon. I was glad to see the back of it. I didn't want to be reminded too long. You're a braver man than I am. My selection for this week's assignment is actually a beer that our mutual buddy Andy gave to me when my wife and I were visiting his wife and himself. It's from Oakham Ales, a brewery up in Peterborough, I think, and it's called A Bishop's Farewell. I was reminded, this has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while, because obviously I only drink a couple of beers a week. It's about time I got to it. I've got another one of the Oakham Ales, which is the Inferno that I mentioned last week, that we got in, I think it was the Sainsbury's up in Bury St Edmunds when we were up there visiting the wife's parents. I'm looking forward to that. Its website calls it a strong premium beer of structured quality, dominated by elaborate fruity hop notes with a grainy background and dry finish, so it may just taste like beer. But we'll find out.
Be one of your classic reviews. Yeah. It tastes like beer.
But it's won some competitions, or placed in bronze, silver position for some various Champion Beer of Britain Award, Premium Bitter, East Beer Competition, Cyber Overall Champion Beer of East Anglia, from for the last 10 years or so.
That's always a sign that it's a decent beer and it's a well thought of beer.
Yeah, hopefully Andy gave it to me because he wanted me to taste something good rather than just getting the shit he didn't want to drink. Which you always have to be worried about, don't you?
Yeah, Mark's just started drinking. I'll give him all my old shit.
This has been in the garage for the last 5 years. It'll still be good. Oh, right. Let's wrap this up when we can communicate somewhat. You can reach us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show, or individually You can find Steve at Mental Bentos. That's MENTALBENTOS. Or you can find me at Roku, ROKKU. The website is beeroclockshow.co.uk, and you can email us at beeroclockshow@gmail.com. We welcome your comments, positive or negative. We really want to get your feedback on the show. Tell us what beers you're tasting and that you would recommend to anyone else. It can be a new beer that you've discovered over the last however many months, or it can be an old favourite of yours that you don't think people drink enough of. Or if you're a brewery and you have some beers that you would like to get the word out about, feel free to drop us a line. That's it. This 7.4% Innis Gunn Winter Treacle Porter has gone completely to my head, and I'm going to sleep well tonight, Stephen. And I bid you adieu. Talk to you next week.
Yes, talk to you next week. Sleep well.
I will. Cheers.
Bye-bye.